The internet is full of fitness and body transformations, before and afters. People who can distill their whole experience into a number on the scale or a couple of pictures. But what happens when you have a huge life event, like having a baby, crossed with an already existing neurodivergent brain, and then you get hit by an additional whammy of trauma, postpartum depression, and anxiety? What happens when you suddenly wake up in pain every day? You aren't able to get enough sleep to physically recover for months. Your muscles have wasted away from hosting this baby parasite in the first place. And then months, if not years later, you emerge from your cocoon of torture and think, how am I ever going to get my body back to a functional place where I can even do daily tasks, let alone to a place where I have the energy to lead an active lifestyle? Well, I know because this is what I went through. And I think these stories deserve to be told even when they aren't flashy, clickbaity, or impressive. I really think they do. Thanks so much to Copilot Fitness for sponsoring this video. Copilot Fitness combines the accountability and personalization of a human trainer with the flexibility of technology. Your virtual personal trainer customizes guided workouts to your goals, schedule, and personal circumstances. Every program is tailored to you and continuously adapted. Regular viewers might know I've worked with Copilot for a couple of years now. But you might not know I've actually been using the app and working with my trainer for all the time in between, which is now coming on 2 years. I really love working with them because of their values. They are not into quick fixes or transformations, but rather integrating fitness into your lifestyle and pursuing your own unique journey, which I think is beneficial to so many autistics and ADHDers looking to start an exercise habit. My early days postpartum. So if you don't already know my story, shortly after my second child, my daughter, was born, she developed silent reflux, which is anything but silent. So we had several months of screaming that we could never ever calm down. And it took many months before we even knew what was wrong with her, and then she got treatment for that. Survival mode doesn't even begin to describe my first 6 months postpartum. And because of all the difficulties during this time, our family definitely suffered with some trauma, and I suspect I had postpartum depression, anxiety, and probably OCD, although nothing was ever officially diagnosed. It was a very, very tough time for me, and I had put on a lot of weight, but also lost a lot of muscle during my pregnancy. So my body was in very poor physical condition, which felt like overnight, and I was struggling to keep up with the grueling nature of parenthood. Parenting is physically demanding, and I had nothing to give. And the reason I'm sharing this is because there are so many stories just like mine, so many difficult postpartum stories, and they aren't being told because of shame or fear or stigma. And I think it's really important to realize how many of us can't cope during those times, right? Especially when you have, let's say, a tricky baby. We were never meant to raise babies in isolation. But for many of us, that's a reality. And when you have a baby that's, let's say, outside the box in more ways than one, the regular advice often doesn't work, and that can be doubly isolating. Furthermore, I wish society would acknowledge the very real and long-term impact that pregnancy and childbirth has on our bodies. I mean, honestly, my first pregnancy, I kind of swanned out of it. Even with a C-section, I recovered very quickly. But my second pregnancy hit me like a ton of bricks. How I got started with exercise. So by the time Copilot Fitness reached out to me, I was coming up to 1 year postpartum. And this was really serendipitous timing because it really did take that long for me to even feel ready to start working out again, or even any kind of exercise, aside from trips around the block or short walks in an attempt to get a baby to sleep in the pram. Spoiler alert, this baby was never ever going to sleep in a pram, in a baby wrap, in a sling, a stroller, or a car seat. It's all right now. She's coming up to 3. This is no longer an issue. Those of you who've had difficult pregnancies or difficult babies, it really does seem like 1 year postpartum, you should be back to normal by then, but I absolutely wasn't. I was disconnected from my body, which I now know was directly related to trauma. I was weak. As mentioned, I had lost muscle mass and obviously a lot of core strength. My hypermobility was having a very bad flare-up, and when I say bad, I mean I was just ridiculously overly flexible, and I ended up with a lot of daily pain in my joints that were hyperextending. And of course, I was not able to sleep properly, so my body could never recover. It felt like it was just screaming to heal, and I could just never catch up with it. I couldn't just do it anymore. Like, I couldn't force myself through this. So I had to scrap everything I knew about exercising, which when I was younger, I definitely exercised a lot more. But this also wasn't in a particularly healthy way. So I started from scratch with my mindset. And my trainer, Brooke, was assigned to me, and she just kind of instinctively got all this. She also was a gymnast in her childhood as well. So we understand that mentality where we were coming from of like pushing through everything and just keeping on going.
So when we first started, I knew like where we were at. I'm hearing you. I'm listening to you. So I can't say, all right, Sam, let's go do every single day for hours. No, that's not even realistic for anybody, right? If people said that, I'd be like, I love your ambition, but how do we take Sam and we say where you are at today, that's exactly where I'm going to meet you and where we're going to start. And where that is something that makes you, which you've seen over time, almost crave more of like, Brooke, I want more. Brooke, I'm feeling good. Brooke, I want to add this versus, oh my gosh, she gave me like all this task on my to-do list and now I have to be perfect, because I remember when I was a gymnast, I would get deducted if my one big toe wasn't pointed.
And so we started incredibly slowly, and this was also much slower than I would have liked, because overdoing it would have lead to immediate muscle pain the next day and for several days afterwards, and then that would limit my ability to get anything done, including everything in my daily life. I mainly stuck to bodyweight workouts at home, which we mixed up every few weeks to keep it interesting, as well as a lot of stretching because I got a lot of muscle soreness as I began to rebuild my body. Progress was slow at the start, but it didn't matter at the time because Brooke kept me motivated every step of the way. We checked in by text. Sometimes I sent her video messages, and sometimes we had, video calls to see how things were going. So the motivation that comes from that kind of human contact was really important to just keep me going. And we really just wanted to focus on what's the next step, what's the next workout, and not plan too far into the future. Because there's a part of me that thinks I need to be all the way over here and I'm just here, and that's a really long way. But when you say, okay, all I'm going to do is think about the next step, psychologically that makes it a lot easier when you're already in kind of a tough place. And I think my mental health was also part of the reason why building up my fitness took such a long time. Because my whole body was in pain, my nervous system was highly activated all the time. I had unprocessed trauma, and you just can't make progress like that. And so it was actually alongside other things that I did, alongside my exercise routine that I was building up. I did EMDR, I did heart coherence therapy. I also started regular therapy, microdosing, and more recently you might have seen the video I did on the psychedelic retreat that I did a couple of months ago. While building up my fitness routine, I worked on processing the trauma and the emotional side of things. And as I processed these emotions, my body responded better and better to the workouts. I know we often talk about the mind-body connection, but this is still not integrated into Western medicine at all. And my experience of recovering was that it was one and the same. My mind and body healed together, and neither could make progress without the other. Dealing with body image. There is something about very fast changes to your body that is extremely unsettling. Change isn't good as an autistic person. And the last few years has been extremely tough on my body image, not to mention having to dress up and put clothes on and be on camera and then having people watch me. That's been also very hard. But when it comes to fitness, for many of us, the idea of fitness is so intrinsically linked with how we look. Or how we want to look. And for me, I knew that that was going to be a hurdle. And I know especially at the beginning, I put a lot of pressure on myself to lose weight. But Brooke has always been there to gently guide me back to focus on what's actually more important when it comes to exercising. Building up my strength to avoid injury, keep up with my kids, feel healthier, have energy, and be in less pain. And having a trainer who values these things has been such a lifesaver. Now, Brooke has been my trainer since the beginning, and I have to admit, I've been very lucky with her. We definitely clicked. But the great thing about Co-Pilot Fitness is that if you don't really feel that click with your trainer, you can change them within the app. It's really as easy as just going to the menu and pressing the button, because it's so important to find somebody who gets you and your particular circumstances. And there is no one-size-fits-all approach here. Now, in all honesty, I can't say that I'm in a place where I just love my body and body positivity and all of that, but I think I respect it more than I used to. And for me, loving my body means prioritizing things like having a slightly longer, more lingering shower, that's self-care. I'm sure there are some people who have 20-minute showers. I'm literally like 3 minutes in, done. So for me, having a long lingering shower and actually saying, okay, no, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to care for my body. That's very important, self-care. Loving my body also means buying clothes that fit now rather than wearing maternity leggings with a hole in the crotch that also, might I add, do not really fit, but I can physically put them on, so they'll do. Loving my body has meant throwing away those tired old ratty gym shoes that I had that I bought secondhand because I was saving the planet. But really that way of thinking was kind of a cover for neglecting myself. I imagine probably some of you have that same things. I do actually buy a lot of my clothes secondhand and I do like that. But it turns out I actually need new supportive shoes to avoid foot pain. So loving myself and loving my body means buying proper shoes that fit. How I kept going. So after several months of starting slow and steady, I did begin to notice changes within my body. And step by step, things started feeling more normal to me again. And Brooke kept tweaking my workouts as I leveled up. I got to a point where I was keen on doing more strength stuff, and I bought a couple of like sandbag, dumbbell, kettlebell thingies. So she customized my workouts around my new equipment.
You know, things became, I don't want to say easier, right? Because it's always a work in progress and a thing that we do, but it became part of your life. It was something that Sam was like, okay, I'm enjoying this. It's working. Like this is going to become part of my, you know, routine and who I am. And so it was, you decided you want to get these. I remember you sending me images and pictures of what you were looking at. And I was like,
does
I
this look
love
good?
this.
Does this look
Yes.
good?
Yes. And I'm like, I love this. This is because you were also, as you're working that habit and building the consistency, you're getting stronger. You're getting to where you need a little bit more of that external resistance, you know, to continue increasing the intensity of where we were at. So we got these items, and then we went from, hey, let's not just look at 1 day a week. Let's increase that to kind of, let's just say, level it up, right, a little bit more. We even had like some, what we would say maybe cardio pieces built in there, a little bit of that plyometric, getting your heart rate up. And then we even kept that intensity up even through some of your travel, which was really cool. We just kind of had to tweak the equipment that we were using.
And I have to say, focusing on strength training has made a really big impact when it comes to my everyday pain levels. It's starting to keep my hypermobility more in check, especially around my knees. This is your PSA to isolate those hamstrings. And I do notice a big mood boost on my workout days. It has for sure helped my mental health to develop and stick to a regular exercise routine. And so using these principles, working on the principles of what's the next step, whether that's like the next week or what's the next phase of our workouts, valuing exercise for its benefits rather than seeing it as like punishment for gaining weight, and knowing that building sustainable habits is way more important than putting everything you have into it and then crashing. On the app, the workouts are all built for you and set up and ready to go, so you don't even have to think about it. You just press start and follow the instructions. It's really easy to follow them. And that's been very helpful as well to reduce the mental load of my everyday life, because you literally don't need to think. Where I am now. So it's been almost 2 years of working out postpartum. There, of course, is a part of me that still clings onto earlier and unhealthy thought patterns about where I should be, or what I should be able to do by now, or what I should look like. But I really feel so immensely proud of how far I've come. I'm at the point now where I can consistently work out twice a week with my strength training, often with additional walking, swimming, or cycling. I'm currently on a 110-day workout streak. They do have a little streak function in the app to gamify it a bit, which I like. And my longest streak was a whopping 170 days, where I didn't miss a scheduled workout. And I would never have achieved this level of consistency without Copilot Fitness and Brooke cheering me on every step of the way. But what I'm most proud of now is I'm able to keep up with my Tasmanian devil children and pick them up without pulling a muscle. Especially now that we're in spring, coming onto summer, hopefully, I feel like I want to get out and move more. And Brooke made me a little running workout when I'm out and about. I'm not much of a runner, let's say, but it's really nice to get out, and so she made me something to mix it up so it's not just going for a run. And there is a part of me that still feels like, hey, I'm just getting started with this. But this feeling actually lets me know that I'm moving forward. Because now I'm just getting started with something different. I'm just getting started adding extras into my routine on top of the consistent twice weekly strength training. And 2 years ago, this level of exercise would have been unthinkable to me and actually impossible. What are my goals now? I think that I want to be working on these lifestyle goals. You know, like going swimming with my family or for extra walks to clear my head, rather than adding extra training workouts in. I don't want or need to be going to the gym 5 times a week because that's just not feasible in my life right now. And my journey is evolving as I leave the baby years behind. However, with Brooke and Copilot Fitness, I know that we can keep changing things up according to my needs, but also according to my wants. So if you've been inspired by my journey and want to give Copilot Fitness a go, click my Copilot link, go.mycopilot.com/YoSamDySam to get 14 days free with your own personal trainer. Now, I am not a fitness model.